grandfather's house.
Their very first training ground.
So you're looking at, this is a great spot to look at. This is where the landscape where the two flying columns are operating through, like. This is Walsh's of Ballyboy, and in this field was where Sean Tracy got the local IRA, which company members, which eventually became Sean Hogan's #2 column. So this is the field where Tracy spent about 2 weeks drilling the lads, showing them how to do weapons training, etc., and basically getting them ready for the guerrilla warfare. And Walsh's of Ballyboy, the house is just down there, is where we're near the Hyland's cross ambush site now. So it's at Walsh's of Ballyboy where they prepared and met that morning the two columns, Dinny Lacey's and Sean Hogan's. And Walsh's of Ballyboy then played a big role throughout the Tan War and the Civil War, and all the big names, again, like a lot of the safe houses around here, passed through Walsh's and would have, I mean, when you look at that field now, Davey, it's, you can just, you know, it hasn't changed. I did an interview here with the owner, and it's still the same field. The ditches were probably a bit thicker, although that ditch down there is still pretty thick. But that was, and you're actually quite near to Claheen village, Claheen town. So they were really doing it under the noses of the RIC, which had a barracks down there.
Right.
But they were still safe. You're still in a little bit off the road down there, but there's another road which is a main road running at the other side of the ditch there. So it was pretty exposed. So like they would have had again to have sentries up and whatever. The other point then is I was saying to you, Davey, the GA really was the IRA. So like often a group of lads before the war began, often a group of lads in a field, often they didn't have guns, they'd hurley, so they wouldn't have caused much suspicion at the beginning.
Yeah.
But as time went on, they would have raised suspicions, and the town people, a lot of them would have been pro the British because they were making their money out and all that. So, but yeah, they still have had to have lookouts around. But that was an important field that was used for 2 weeks, and as I say, the house, the IRA leaders, Breen, actually after Michael Collins was shot, Dev stayed here for 2 weeks. Here? In Walsh's.
Go away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So he also stayed in my own people's house, Ryan's of the Racecourse. He was about 2 months there. In fact, he dressed as a priest and he was going in and out to Cashel while he was at Ryan's, and one of the neighbours wanted to know who the priest was, to see a member of the family, like, you know, so I think they told him, yeah.
Right.
He was on the Ryan's home from America or something. God. So there's actually there's a story about that. Dev was coming up in disguise as a priest, and a guy wrote a book, his name was Cranley, from Tiptown, and he describes being a young lad in a horse and cart going into Ryan's. They were stopped by the IRA in Golden, this is during the Civil War, and they told the IRA lads, we have a message for Dev, who's staying at Ryan's at the Racecourse. So they went to my grandfather's house and went down, pulled up in the yard. Dev was walking up with Mick Ryan, but they thought that the lads in the cart wouldn't recognise Dev, but the father of the author of the book straight away said, oh well Mick, and said well Dev straight away, and Mick Ryan was disgusted because Dev was in such a disguise that he thought no one would recognise him, but this man recognised him straight away. Right. Must have been his height or something, so yeah. But yeah, it's nice to find a family story as well that's recorded, you know. It
is, yeah, absolutely.
So that's a famous field, Ellie Quinn's field, because there was an Ellie Quinn woman owned it once, and that's why he got the name. So yeah. Okay, Davey. So we're walking down here to Hyland's Cross, and there was a famous ambush happened here. I only interviewed a local man, John Pine, on my TikTok account there. Actually, I haven't mentioned my TikTok account yet.
I'll mention it at the start.
I better see it across all these videos. Yeah. Trying to catch up with you with followers. Anyway.
Tipperary Fenian on TikTok.
I'll be sending you an invoice now. So anyway, so this is the crossroad. So basically, that direction there, Davey, is to Claheen, and this direction here is Ballyluby and Care. So if you just step out here, we'll just cross the road here quick, Davey, just for quiet. Yeah. So Davey, the ambush actually happened down there, roughly where that sign is on the right hand side.
Okay.
And on the left-hand side of the road, you had Sean Hogan's column, actually in that field there.
Okay.
And on the right-hand side of the road, then in along the ditch, you had Dinny Lacey's column. So basically, the plan was to ambush a military convoy that used to pass here regularly, heading for Claheen, the military barracks. And they waited and waited, and Sean Hogan's column had pulled away because the military convoy didn't show up. So they were gone, I think they were gone about a mile away for a short distance anyway. And the next thing, the military convoy showed up and Dinny Lacey's column opened fire. And
which were over here.
Which were over here on the road. And oh sorry, they were up here in behind the ditch there and up on the heights here. Now they had a meal at some stage in one of the houses here. I think it's probably one of the local houses here that they had a meal in.
Right.
There's an old farmhouse up there. But when Hogan's column heard it, they quickly made their way back and opened fire. Now there was probably a few stragglers of Hogan's here, but I think a lot of the column had pulled away. But anyway, they joined in then. But what some of the witness statements said, that as the boys came back over this direction, they started firing down on the road here, and they nearly shot some of their own lads, but thankfully they didn't.
Okay.
So that was a success anyway. But in the middle of all this, when it was going on, Gilbert Potter, came from this direction in his car. He was the district inspector.
Yeah, of the RAC.
Of the RAC, yeah. And why
he came up this road.
He came up this road, and he came into it as it was all happening, and he pulled in here. And look, the local man I interviewed said that they were probably he was probably going to investigate because he'd have recognised, he might have thought that they were broken down or something, or else he was going down to see what was happening. He pulled in, and when he realised that it was an ambush, he tried to get away, but the lads at gunpoint stopped him. They noticed the gun then in the seat, and they took him, the car, and him, and Dinny Lacey, they
took the car and all.
They took the car and all, yeah.
Right.
And headed off in that direction. And they passed Walsh to Ballyboy, where we were at Ellie Quinn's field. And they actually came under fire then from another British Army patrol that were on the road coming from Ardfinnan to Claheen. So, just on another point of interest, there's no plaque here. This is a really successful ambush for the IRA. Potter ended up getting executed a few weeks later, but there's no plaque here. The two columns combined. So, like, another thing I'm hoping to do is maybe get permission and get help to put up a plaque here locally. So, you know, a fantastic operation that thankfully, you know, they struck a blow here, like, and there's no real there's not much you didn't know about, Davey.
No, there's nothing here to commemorate it or nothing.
Yeah. So basically that's the story here, but there's also another special thing here. If we drive just down this road here about a mile and a half, you've heard of the White Boys.
Yeah.
This is where the White Boys were formed.
Okay.
Just over here, Drumlemon, and the first gathering of the White Boys was over there where they knocked the ditches in Drumlemon. And it's a fielder now at the moment. There's a ring fort in it as well. So the White Boys were, Father Sheehy was involved with them, and Father Sheehy then ended up, because he was trying to support the Gaelic Irish, he was hounded again by the loyalists, the big planter families, and they eventually got him on false evidence. And Father Sheehy, have you been to Father Sheehy's grave?
No.
He's buried out the road here. If you've any space left in the car, Davey, we might go there, and if you don't, you'll have to come back another day.
Yeah.
But so that's the Highlands Cross ambush. So Sean Hogan, they headed away after back towards the Galties, which was their kind of base at this side of the Galties, and Dinny Lacey then, they headed off with Potter, and they marched for nearly 24 hours over eventually Newcastle, up into the mountainous area, and ended up in Waterford. But it was 24 hours of hard slog and hiding, because the Brits were fast on their tails, and there was a lot of them after them. So, like, there's a good few descriptions of that, and there's a couple of books after being written. We mentioned it in our first booklet, and there's another guy in Tip Town there that wrote a book in it as well. I can't think of the name of it, but
okay.
so that was a really tough walk, like it was 24-hour walk, and they successfully got away. So yeah, another major piece of history here on a crossroads in South Tip. And as I say, maybe it's time now to make sure that we commemorate these things properly, you know, keep our culture alive.